And hello, all my Planet Zoo friends. I hope you're having a wonderful day. Welcome to a new thing that I'm trying out called Freestyle Friday, where I'm just going to build random habitats in the middle of a random park just to kind of build some random stuff. So I hope you enjoy it. Today, I am going to try to build a Komodo Dragon habitat inside of this dome that I built. I didn't film myself building the dome because I didn't think it was going to come out looking this decent. My apologies. I'll definitely make one in the future and show you how it's done. I will say, however, there are some amazing dome building videos on YouTube from other amazing creators, so don't hesitate to check them out, okay? Now for this build, I think the theme that I was going for was um, the like southern Asia, Indonesia vibe. So we have the dome, and the Komodo dragon is from the biomes of grassland meets tropical. So I was going for more of the tropical look. So the biodome I feel like was great because it could create that little tropical look, and also just being able to put a lot of greenery inside of this habitat would also be great. I feel like anytime I've ever seen a dome or been inside of a dome, it's either been desert or it's been green. So definitely wanted to go with the green look. I also wanted to create a pathway for people that wasn't just like straight through the dome, but I didn't want to make a huge dome. So as you can see, we're kind of using this earthy path to create like this nice little smooth build. That will be changed in just a minute, but you get the general idea of where we're starting out at. I also used this opportunity to kind of map out the water areas that I wanted to use. So I have seen some great domes before, and because the Komodo Dragon um, needs its space, I wanted to create a water moat area to separate the Komodo Dragon's land area from the guest. So I actually am going to lower down this section a little bit, and using the pathway kind of helped that out because the ground will not move where the pathway is placed. So that was my initial thing, is doing that. I ended up changing that. As you can see, like right now it's not moving anywhere, and I realized I didn't like that idea, but it was nice to still have the pathway to get the overall I guess layout of the whole thing. So what I'm going to do is we're going to move forward and jump way ahead to where I've already gotten the pathway laid out, as well as the barrier wall and the water. I do apologize, I didn't film that part. It was an oopsies. I apologize. I won't mess up again. But for now, you're just gonna have to like bear with me. I'll make an extra video for you or something, I promise. Sorry. Okay, so here we are. We have jumped way into the future with this section of the Komodo Dragon area. So we have the barrier wall, which was made out of stone and covered with ivy. And then we also have the Komodo Dragon's little, I call it the throne right here with the rocks. And then also we have the little waterfall for some ambiance. And then we have the keeper gate. We all know how much fun I just absolutely love these keeper gates. That is extreme sarcasm if you were just joining us for the first time. But my goal with this area was to create the keeper gate and make it look real. So once I finally learned how to build this dome, I needed to figure out how to add pieces to the dome that you would normally see in a real building. So in a real zoo, you would probably see the dome, but then it would also have like a little exterior where the doors would go, correct? So that's what we're working on now. I've gone through a many pieces, and it just was really complicated. Trying to, I'm still learning all the pieces. There's so many, especially if you showed up to Planet Zoo much later than when it was released. So I think this was released in 2019. A lot of DLCs and stuff came out before I started playing, which was in 2022. So that was in February of 2022. I started playing Planet Zoo. A lot had come out. So I'm still learning all these pieces. I always say that one day I'm going to just lay them all out and try to like learn about them, but I just get overwhelmed every single time. So ultimately, I'm just going to, I'll just click and play, click and play. So yeah, we are going to create a little like off building. That way the keepers have an entrance and an exit. I also put the throne, the Komodo Dragon's little throne rock area in front of the door because I still really enjoy when you can't see the behind the scenes stuff. Speaking of which, if you're watching this video, I will have posted it after Planet Zoo released their new DLC, which comes out on June 21st. It's the Conservation Pack. It is really exciting because you're going to get 5 new animals and 150 new scenery items. And the coolest part is that a lot of those items are backstage items that are really going to enhance our ability to build backstage areas. So what you see now, maybe we'll be able to enhance that later on after the 21st once that pack comes out. But I cannot wait to get my hands on it. I will learn every piece as fast as I can so we can create really neat little behind the scenes areas. So I'm going to fast forward just a little bit so you can see more of the keeper gate, the way that it's going to end up in the finished product. Cool, so now you can see that we decided to keep using those little glass panes, and I put up the little keeper walls, like the actual concrete walls, thinking that that would look cool, and then I didn't like it. So yeah, we're gonna remove those. We're gonna use the glass panes, as you can see. And once again, I'm using the advanced movement tool. That's gonna make this so much easier to create perfect lines and angles. So if you're not familiar, you can press the X key on your keyboard to create the advanced movement tool, and then you can press it one more time to swap. So there's two options. There's one for rotating, and then there's one for moving up, down, left, and right. Clicking X multiple times will change between those two options. And if you want to copy an item and keep it in the advanced movement format, press Control and X at the same time, and it'll duplicate it in that format. Overall, I did really enjoy this little like glass aesthetic going on. I thought that was really cool, especially keeping with the theme of the glass dome. Um, just kind of neat. And then once again, kind of trying to be creative and not use like just made pieces that are already in the game. So we're gonna go in here with some poles in just a second and make our own poles throughout this little fenced-in area. I usually don't play the game with the sound on. I usually am like listening to an audiobook. So that's the first time I ever heard the sound of the barrier being moved. That's really cool. Yeah, I didn't realize that. You know, if you do know any really good tutorials on domes that you absolutely love, post a link down in the comments below because I would love to watch it. Domes are really cool. I like them, but I feel like I make it a little more complicated than it has to be, and I wouldn't mind learning how to make one a little bit more rounder than this. I used a lot of the window pieces, and it came out a little boxy. It's okay, but still, I would love to learn how to make really nice smooth domes in the future. Now, you may have heard a lot of Planet Zoo creators say this, but these plaster pieces are amazing. The fact that they're also colorable is great, but they just are very versatile, and I really like the ability that of just like to they blend in so well to things. So we've used these plaster pieces on as the little columns, and then I had this little gap in between the wall and the dome. So once again, just trying to be a little creative and make it to where it looks okay. We're just gonna fill it in with plaster columns. Make it simple. I try to move some of the pieces over to the left and the right. As you can see, it doesn't curve with the dome like you would want it to. That would be a cool feature to have some, to have an option to curve things to make it go on a curved plane instead of left, right, up, and down and having to use the advanced movement tools. Um, so ultimately, I just said, you know what, let's just fill it in with some columns. The main idea is to make it look complete and to make sure that our Komodo dragon doesn't get out of the habitat. I did think this was a really cool idea to use these big blocks to I almost wanted to use them to go all the way over, but ultimately that was a no-go as well. So Planet Zoo did a really good job with the Komodo dragons. I can't wait for you to see them when we place them into the habitat in just a minute. They did a really good job. They're absolutely beautiful in the game. Um, I hope you have I hope you have a decent graphic card for this particular animal because they're beautiful, and the way that the light shines on them in the game is spectacular. It looks absolutely wonderful. If you're unfamiliar with the Komodo dragon, it is a large reptile from Indonesia. It is an ambush predator. So basically sits and waits. Animal comes along, it will pounce, attack, usually at the neck, and it will kill its prey. Um, it is said that um, the bacteria in their saliva is so bad that a bite would almost certainly lead to an infection. So if an animal doesn't die from the bite or the strangulation, the force or whatever, it would probably get an infection and die. That's kind of brutal, but very fascinating that like this lizard is just I don't know. As you've seen from you'll see from the American alligator video that's coming next Monday. I am very into the to the reptiles, a little too into the reptiles. Now, Komodo dragons are not currently endangered. They are, however, considered vulnerable. Now, there is I believe, an island, the Isle of Dragons. I'm gonna make sure I get that right for you, but it is an island where basically the Komodo dragon lives, and it's considered a national park now to protect the Komodo dragons because they were not always in such stable condition. And I would also, say vulnerable is still not a stable condition, but they are being protected now, and that's super important. We know conservation, very important. If you are interested, I'll post some links in the comments below. The national park is called Komodo National Park, and I believe it was created in the 1980s. Not only are they beautiful and large animals, but they can eat anything between like a rabbit to like a deer. So that's a lot of food. Um, I prefer rabbit if I had to. I just can't imagine an animal of like that size eating something that's the same size as it. Oh, this is insane. Nonetheless, I will just observe from a distance. That's how where I'm gonna be. I'll be the guest on the little walkway and just stay there. back to the build. Now you can see that the trees didn't work, so we're just going to go with the column look, create these columns so that way we have a nice little block area to kind of just make it look complete. We're going to do that, and then right after this, the Komodo dragons are going to get welcomed into the park, or I mean into the dome. So let's introduce the Komodo dragons. So one of the things I did not alter in this game were any of the settings. So their animal welfare, their habitat needs, all of that is still on. So I am playing the normal game the way it is supposed to be, and I did that in hopes of creating habitats that these animals liked in the game. That way, when you create them, you can kind of get an idea of what they like too. So instead of like going in there with, not knowing anything about what the Komodo dragon likes as a habitat, you know a little bit more before you start your build. For example, these two Komodo dragons, we put two in there, um, and I realized that they didn't like the space, so they want more space. So what I did was I do end up getting rid of one of them, finding out that that was not the biggest issue, it was the space. Um, so they can live with multiple, but I've come to figure out that they just kind of want to live with one. I could be wrong with that. You can let me know. Might be wrong. But like I said, we're going to use the actual settings and follow the Komodo Dragons likes and dislikes to make a nice little park for them. So to do that, we're just going to select on the animal that we want. We're going to go to the second tab, and it's going to show you a list of terrain um, options at the bottom. And what we want is we want the terrain for each one of them to be in the highlighted white area. It doesn't matter if it's at the beginning or the end. We just want it in the highlighted white area, and we want that area to show green. So right now I'm adding some regular grass. We have the option of long grass, some soil, dark soil, rocks, sand, which, by the way, will look different depending on what type of environment you start your sandbox in. So we're in a tropical setting, so our soil is going to look different than it would in like a desert setting. Also, you don't have to have your animals love the plants that are in the area. You just need to have a percentage of them be of their liking. So that way their overall welfare is in a high percentage. If they have like, as you can see, some of the vines they don't like, it's okay if they don't like one thing. It'll be absolutely okay. Ultimately, we do want to get the majority of the plants that they like from their habitat. Once again, I want it to keep this themed, Southeast Asia, Indonesia. I wanted that to be the theme for the build. So I am using plants from the grassland tropical Asia filter, which is something you can easily do. All you need to do for that is when you open up the habitat button, not the habitat button, the nature button, you go to the little funnel. It'll be right next to the logo that says DLC. Click the little funnel and it'll give you options. What I usually do is click continent. I'll click the continent we're looking for, which is Asia. And then you can also click biome, which we're looking for grassland and tropical, and we'll get it for that. When you go to habitat, if you're wanting to get some enrichment items for the animal, you would just filter by the actual species, which will be the Komodo dragon, and it'll give you options for what they like just for that species. Also, something that I really have been getting into is just kind of making things not so flat. So I did learn how to use the terrain stamp. I did not realize that you can make slopes with the terrain stamp. So that is something we've done here. And later on, we will add a little bit of more like just uneven ground. I think it adds to the space. You try it out, see what you think, but I just feel like things look better when they're not just flat. I guess in like a desert setting, maybe flat would be good, but not here. Especially for Komodo dragons who live in not flat areas, you know? Um, if you look at the surrounding areas of Indonesia maps, they are they're not flat, not all of them. So use your resources. Think, go online, find some pictures, something you can map it off of, and if you're really looking to be themed correctly, just do a little bit of that digging around, and I'm sure you'll be able to figure it out. I actually wish I would have done a little bit more digging before I started this, but I got really excited because I do love reptiles. So when I thought about doing the Komodo dragon, I was like, I'm good. I also wanted to do an animal that wasn't on like the least concern list. So you're gonna see next week we have the American alligator, and that's least concerned. I believe capybara is the capybaras as well as the North American beaver. Those are also not on the endangered species list. So I wanted to swap it up a little bit just so we can learn a little bit about animals that are actually of concern in the wild. So working with like the Freestyle Friday idea is that I want to be um, a little bit more aware of uh, details. So we're going to start off small, but I thought to myself, like, what am I missing whenever I look at this habitat? What do I need to add? And I always forget to add um, education boards. Planet Zoo has provided these amazing education boards with so much information that looks so good. Why not create them and actually put them in the park? I don't know that I've ever been to a park that didn't have an education board for an animal, and why should my park be any different? So, for this habitat, I'm going to put up some education boards. I love this education board. I think it looks so good. If you know of any creators who have custom education boards, please let me know. I would love to see them. But like I said, ultimately, we just want to go for um, a little bit of more detail so that way our guests have something to look at. Also, taking note from someone who commented on a past video, using Vista points so that way people have a place to go. Um, that way we can kind of spread out the guests throughout the exhibit and habitats so that way they look around. Um, Nova Heights, if you've seen it, everyone is stuck in the front by the capuchin monkeys, and we're trying to get them around. I've taken some cues and tips from other creators as well as people who've been commenting, and I will have to say it is a challenge to get people to mosey around a park. So hopefully this education board will do that, as well as the Vista points. I will let you know. I actually have not let any guests into this area. We have an entire another section on the other side of this um, build that is for another animal from Indonesia, and I'll let the guests come in once that animal has been introduced. So we'll just finish up with this education board. I just wanted to give it a little bit more decoration. Like I said, kind of paying attention a little bit to details and not just letting things be plain and dull. So we're going to finish up with this education board, add some plants to it, and then we're going to jump over to outlining the dome, the bottom border of it, with some plaster pieces just to give it, I guess, a little bit more completion, if you will. So let's do that. These plaster pieces are the same plaster pieces we were using for the entrances to the little keeper area, which you can see we've also used them to the entrances of the dome. However, they're smaller, so I believe we use the largest piece for the doors, and this is the smallest piece. We're using the advanced angle tool and just kind of turning them ever so slightly as we continue around the dome. So what I've done is created like 3 or 4 pieces in a row, filled them into the dome area, and then I'm going to group them. Next, I'm going to slide them over, give it a little bit of a turn, and then I'm going to group them again. Once I've done that, I'm going to select the 2 pieces together, and then I'm going to group them again. I do this a few times, and it's really just to make things a lot easier, so you don't have to go one piece at a time all the way around. Now, I will say sometimes this part can get complicated as well, because if things don't line up right, you're spending a lot of time trying to fix things. So really it is up to you. If you find a way to make it perfect and go around perfectly, then you're set. You're a genius. Please let me know. I'm just not always that skilled in this area. As you can see, we're using the big piece, but it doesn't always line up perfectly. So feel free to use it piece by piece, or you can use these bigger long pieces and just kind of be careful. I will say that the longer the piece is, when you try to turn it horizontally using the spinner, it wants to move very far, very fast. So smaller pieces in this situation might be a little bit easier. I had to go slow here, but I will eventually make it all the way around the dome. I just kind of felt a little weird having the dome end just with the flat pieces in the ground. I guess you could also use some block pieces at the bottom of the glass bars and kind of make it look like it was connected into the ground with those blocks, kind of like cinder blocks, maybe like you would see maybe in real life. I like this plaster idea. I thought it was really cute, so it was simple, it was easy. What I'm doing here is trying to move it directly across, and then I was going to use the same technique that we used to make the dome, which is make a section, flip it all the way around, move it to the other side, group it, and then spin it. Unfortunately, that does not work here, and you will see why in just a second. It wasn't spun correctly. It can definitely become a very time-consuming process, but ultimately I feel like it came out just fine. I gave this a shot, but you can see it just doesn't stay lined up as you start to spin it, and that's just because something is off just a little bit, which is why I could have done it a little differently. So say for instance, I probably could have done one little piece of plaster and then moved another piece all the way to the other side, connected those two, and then turned them. In fact, I may go back and try that and see if it works. If it does, I will let you know and show in a video maybe later on. I don't know why I didn't think of that before, but that's a great idea. So instead, afterwards, I just kind of moved these around. After, it was fine. It made it easy. Was no issue. I do feel like it was complete. Other than completing the bottom of the dome, I think that was about it. It was a pretty easy little build. I think overall it took me about 2.5 hours to go from flat land to dome to habitat. So it's not too bad, especially for a little bit more of a, I don't want to say advanced, we'll say mild to medium build. Then again, I think I just got lucky with the domes, so maybe if I can get a little bit better, I'll make a video on how to make them, but right now, I don't feel that confident in it. You can let me know. I would love to see your domes. But yeah, let's head over to the next piece, which is going to be our Komodo dragons just enjoying their habitat. So it's that time of the build again. I really hope you enjoyed learning a lot about these Komodo dragons, and don't forget to check the description below for some awesome resources I used when building this little habitat, and I do hope you enjoyed. As always, let's make sure to be good stewards of our planet, and that also means trying to keep these vulnerable Komodo dragons off the endangered species list. I hope they stay around forever and ever and ever. I do hope this build helped you find a little bit of love for the Komodo dragon. Maybe you're not a reptile fan like me. If it did, then I'm really excited. And if you just learned a little bit of something about the Komodo dragon, that makes me excited as well. I'm going to let you enjoy the rest of this video, but if you enjoyed it, please make sure to like, subscribe, or comment below. And I cannot wait to see you for the next Freestyle Fridays build. Yeah, and like I said, I promised you an extra one before next Friday. I'll definitely do that. Until then, I hope you have a great day. Bye, y'all.